In this video, I'm going to go over two typical investment questions that involves the interest and the interest rate, and we will also use the system of equations to solve. Let's look at the first one. Suppose someone invests money into two bank accounts. One account pays 6% annual interest, while the other pays 9%. Suppose that $800 more is invested at the 6% account than it is invested at the 9% account. If the total interest earned after 1 year is $303, we would like to know how much money was invested in each account. So as we can see, we have two things that we don't know. We don't know how much money we put in the 6% account, and we also don't know how much money did we put in the 9% account, right? So this is a big hint that why we should use the system of equations, and we have two unknowns. That means we should have two equations. And this is how I would recommend you guys to organize all the information. First of all, because we're talking about two banks, right? So let's draw the two banks right here. So let me just draw the first house. This is my bank. And I will have another one right here, okay? And for this one, let's say this is the bank that will pay you 6% account. So let me just put down the 6% right here. And then on the other hand, this is the one that will give you the 9%, right? So let's put down the 9% like this. And now we have to ask ourselves, because we don't know how much money we have put in right here, right? So what should we do? Well, this is an unknown. We don't know how much money we put in the 6% account. So let's use a variable to represent that. So let me just call this to be x. X will represent the amount of dollars that we put in the 6% account. On the other hand, we also don't know how much money we have in the 9% account. So let's put down y. Alright, and now we are going to see if there's any way that we can come up with a connection between x and y. So we have to go back to the question and read it carefully again. Let's look at this sentence. It says in exact words, okay? Suppose that $800 more is invested at 6% than is invested at 9%. Based on this sentence, let me ask you, which account has more money? We know it's the 6% account, right? This one has more money. How much more? $800 more, right? We know this account has $800 more than the 9% account. And you see, if you look at this sentence right here, it's kind of hard to translate. I think the reason is because we have two is right here. And this is just how the sentence was written in the first place. But then we just have to think about this into our own words. And let me write that down for you guys right here. This is the same as saying the amount that we have in the 6% account. Let me write it down for you guys. Is $800 more than the amount that we have in the 9% account, isn't it? And you see, if you read this and think about this into your own words, and maybe it will be really helpful to write it down just like how I'm doing right here. If you look at this right here, it's so much easier to translate this into an equation. We know the amount right here, this is an amount in the 6%, we call this to be x earlier, is $800 more than the amount in the 9% account. We have to know this is y, right? So let's put down y right here first. And we know it's $800 more, so let's add, because the more, we add $800. Be sure you put down the y first. Even though it doesn't matter, you can put this down as x is equal to 800 plus y, but then just in case sometimes you have to do 800 less than the subtraction situation, you have to be sure you note this amount first, okay? So that's the first equation. Look at that. We have x is equal to y plus 800. And now what's next? Well, let's look at the percentage right here and change them into decimals. This right here, 6%, it's the same as 0.06, and the 9% is the same as 0.09. What do we do next? Well, when we have the interest rate, this is the percent, okay? This is the interest rate. the interest rate multiplying with how much money we put in, that will give us how much interest, how much money that we can make. Okay, so I'm just going to multiply this and that. This is why I line up everything like this. We have X amount in the 6% account, and this is the interest rate. When we multiply this and that, let me write it down, 0.06, and we multiply by X. This will represent how much money we can earn from the interest. And we will do the same for this bank right here. We take 0.09 and we multiply by the amount in this account, which is just a Y. This will represent how much money we can make from this bank. Altogether, it says the total interest earned after 1 year is $303. That means the amount I earn right here plus the amount I earn right here altogether will give us $303. This is the beauty of investment. You just have to put aside your money and your money will make more money for you. And this is the system of equations that we can use to solve for X and Y. And this is how I would suggest you guys to do it. Since X is already by itself, X is equal to Y plus 800, right? It will be more direct to just take this and substitute it into the second equation, this X right here. And we are using a substitution. Let me write it down for you guys. We have 0.06x. Let me write it down, 0.06, but I will open a parentheses for X, because I will replace the Y plus 800 into this X. That's what it means by substitution. And then we finish this right here. We add 0.09 times Y, and that will give us 303. And now we can just focus on how to solve this regular equation, because this is just an equation with one unknown Y. Distribute the number into the parentheses, and let's see what we have. 0.06 times Y is just 0.06Y. 0.06 times 800, that will give us plus 48, and then this is the same, 0.09Y, and this is equal to 303. And now let's combine the terms right here. 0.06Y, we add it with 0.09Y. These two together will give us 0.15Y, and we still have the plus 48, and this is equal to 303. And we can just subtract 48 on both sides so that they cancel, minus 48 here as well, and we will have 0.15Y, and that will give us 303 minus 48, that will give us 255, and then we can just then divide both sides by 0.15, and we see this and that will cancel, and we can get the Y value right here. Y is equal to 225 divided by 0.15, that will give you 1700. So this represents the amount of money that we put in the 9% account, right? And we also have to figure out the amount that we put in the 6% account. So you can look at this equation. X is equal to Y plus 800, and this is what we have to do. We know X is equal to Y plus 800, and we know Y is equal to 1700. So I'm just going to say this is X equals to the Y is the 1700. So let's just put it down right here, and we just have to add the 800 after that, right? So of course you see X is equal to 1700 plus 800, that's 2500, and we are done. But then keep in mind, this is a word problem, so we have to make sure we write down our answer clearly. So I can write down something like this, the 2500, so let me put it down, that represents $2,500. That's in the 6% account. I will use ACCT, stands for account, okay? And on the other hand, 1700, that will be the amount in the 9% account. 9% ACCT. Once again, that's account. And this is how we will present our answer. And now I would like you guys to try the next one first. Okay, so hopefully you guys all had a chance to work this out first, and now let's go over this together. It says a total of $11,000 was invested. Part of the $11,000 was invested at a 4% account, and the rest was invested at a 7% account. If the investments earned $680 per year, then how much was invested at each account? So you can see it's the same type of questions, and let me just draw the houses, just like how we did it earlier, right, to represent the accounts. For this one, let me label this to be the 4%. And for this one, that will be the 7%. Okay? Well, do we know how much amount that we have in the 4% account? We don't, right? So that's labeled out to be X. Likewise, for the 7%, let me just put down Y right here. So, how can we build a relationship between X and Y? Well, let's just look back to the first line. Right here it says a total of $11,000 was invested. Well, what does that mean? We know we put in X amount of dollars in the 4% account, right? And we also put in Y amount of dollars in the 7% account. Altogether, these two should add up to $11,000, right? So we know X plus Y has to be 11,000. That's the first equation. Once again, because this time the question is mentioning the total amount that we put in at first is $11,000. So that means X plus Y has to be $11,000. It is not saying this account has more or less money than the other one, unlike earlier. This time it's just X plus Y is equal to 11,000. Alright, then once again we'll change the percent into decimal. 4% is 0.04 and 7% is the same as 0.07, and you know the deal. When we take the percent, which is the interest rate right here, multiply by how much money we put in, that's the interest that we can earn, right? So I will put down 0.04 times X, and then for this one, we put in 0.07 times Y. This will represent the interest that we earn from the 4% account. This is the interest that we can earn from the 7% account. Altogether, when we add them up, we can make $680 per year from the interest. And there you have it. This is the second equation. And let me just write this down right here. And now, let me ask you, what method should we use to solve? As usual, I would like to suggest you guys use the elimination method because it's just quicker and shorter. So in this case, this is how I like to do it. I would like to change all the color into black first. X plus Y is equal to 11,000, and for this one is 0.04x plus 0.07y equals to 680. So all I'm doing is just change all the color into black, because now I will have to show you what exactly we have to do to get rid of one variable. So you have choices. You can get rid of the x or the y. It's up to you. Let's say I want to get rid of the x right here, okay? So on top of this right here, let's write down the lowest common multiple of 1 and 0.04. Well, we need to have 0.04, right? And this is how we are going to do it. I'm going to look at the first equation. I will multiply everything by 0.04. However, you know the second equation, we have a positive 0.04 in front of this x. So for the first equation, we should end up to have a negative 0.04. So let's put on negative right here. Remember, the numbers have to be the same, but opposite sign. That's why we choose this one to be negative 0.04. And you will see we will have this times that is negative 0.04x, and this times y is negative 0.04y, and this negative 0.04 times 11,000, that will give us negative 440. And then for the second equation, I'm just going to keep it as how it is, positive 0.04x, and this is positive 0.07y, and this is 680. And now we are ready to add the equations up together, because now we see negative 0.04x from the first equation will cancel out with the second equation because it has a positive 0.04x. And then we can just combine these two right here. Negative 0.04y plus 0.07y, that's 0.03y, and that's positive. And this right here, negative 440 plus 680, that will give us positive 240. And now you see, we can just divide both sides by 0.03, so that this and that will cancel, and let's do the same right here as well. And we will get the y by itself. Y will be 240 divided by 0.03, that will give us 8,000. So now we have to plug in the y value right here into one of these equations, and you see x plus y is equal to 11,000. This is easier, so let's use that. So let me put down x is just the x plus the y, which we know now is the value of 8,000, and then that's equal to 11,000. So what's x? We can just subtract 8,000 on both sides, and we can get the x by itself. And we see that x is equal to 11,000 minus 8,000, that is 3,000. So at the end, this is how we are going to answer the question. The 3,000 is for x, and the x is the amount of money that we put down in the 4% account. So let's write down, we have $3,000 in the 4% account. And once again, ACCT stands for account. And for the $8,000, that's the amount of money that we put in the 7% account. So we have $8,000 in the 7% account. Okay, this is how we will present our answer. So hopefully this video helps. If you would like to have more of the algebra resources, be sure to check out the links in the description. And keep in mind, as long as you put in efforts to study on how to do these kind of questions, you can do them too.